Hello everyone, Lucia from We Know What You Like here. I just wanted to give everyone a fair warning that due to a new distance recording, some parts of the book talk lag in quality. If you all would like to hear this book talk as more as an audio podcast, then that would be okay. I promise that the next book talk will be better. Thank you.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Book Talk. This is Lucia,
Katie,
and Mary.
All the way from New York. Yes, we are from We Know What You Like. Special guest, Mary. Y'all may have seen her in the third book of the Folk of the Air series in the Queen of Nothing book. That was in person, but she has since gone home. But we really, New York. Yeah, but we all read another book together, and so we're trying out a new format, and that is, well, this way. We hope it's okay. We have no idea if it's going to be bad or not. We'll see how the end results are. Regardless, we're going to have a good time talking about this book. And what book is it, Katie?
Oh, yeah, I'm a mouthful. Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare.
Yeah, gotta whip
I can't hold up the book because I gave my copy back to my friend.
Yeah, Clockwork Angel. Before we begin, anyone want to talk about their experience with Cassandra Clare? Anything you want to talk about? I don't know.
So Cassandra Clare is one of my all-time favorite authors, and this is her fourth book, and the fourth book I read because I read them in the order they were published. Mm-hmm. And she writes a lot of really relatable characters. So almost every story of hers that I've read, there's been some character that I relate to on a level I'd never related the characters to before, which is really fun and interesting. They're really diverse. They all have varying personalities, varying different kinds of people, all walks of life. And they're really intriguing stories.
Okay. I agree.
I had tried reading Cassandra Clare's books. It was 2020, right? It was during the pandemic. Yeah. When I first started getting back into reading. And Katie was like, "You need to read these." So I read City of Bones. Well, actually, what I did is I watched the Shadowhunter series from Hulu, which was on Freeform, I think. So sorry for any fans. I became obsessed because of that. I liked the show. Tried reading City of Bones, got through it. The thing about me is I'm not the biggest fan of third person. I prefer first person, although third person has its charms. I do like the idea of being in different worlds or different heads and seeing the world from different perspectives, but it has to be written a very specific way. And with City of Bones, it just jumbled around too much for me to be able to follow really what was happening. It didn't really stick with one person or a couple of people long enough for me to really get involved in the world and understand what was happening, other than what I had seen from the show, which is why I was able to understand as much as I did. But yes, I have learned that the show is very wrong and puts all of the books, condenses it way too much, but
listen, one day I'll just give you the plot line for Mortal Instruments and then you can keep reading the other one.
I would love to. But needless to say, it took me a year and a half to read another Cassandra Clare book because Katie told me that I would like the Infernal Devices, which is what this series is. And boy, was she correct. I have finished the series. I'm the kind of person where if it is a series, I will just get through it. Mm-hmm. So I got through that whole series within a week.
Nice.
So it's been, I think, 5 or 6 days since I've read the whole series.
Nice.
I was wrecked by this series, and I would like to read more. Katie told me that I don't have to read more, because not all of these characters are in the main focus in the rest of the books. But I think I might. I think I'm gonna commit to reading it in chronological order rather than release order. So The Last Hours is gonna be the next series that I think I'll pick up.
I do have to say, Dark Artifices is probably my second favorite series she ever wrote.
I'll pick that one up too.
Like the Blackthorn children own my whole heart.
Nice.
I love that.
And you meet them in the end of Mortal Instruments, but like from the moment I met them in the book, I was like, I love these children.
I just love Magnus. Magnus is my favorite character.
Valid.
And he didn't really shine as much in the series as I wanted him to, but I do like that we get to be in his head.
Yeah.
For as little as we are. Sorry. But
he plays a relatively...
Not really a spoiler, but...
Wait. before we get into it, I just want to say my history with Cassandra Clare.
I guess you can talk. That's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. I talk a lot, anyways. Okay, so my history with Cassandra Clare was, I had read a few books in the Immortal Instruments series a long time ago, probably when they first came out, to be honest. But it's been a long time since I read them, and I haven't even finished that series. I read maybe the first 3, and it was one of those things.
Technically, the first 3 is its own series.
Like, there's more, right? And then, because I was reading them with my mom, my mom and I both love to read. We would watch movies together. It was stuff we did together. Mm-hmm. And then, I don't know why we stopped reading it. I honestly don't know.
Was it because of the incest?
No, listen, y'all know me by now that
I do.
There's not a lot of stuff that really crosses the line, so to speak. You know, it's fine. But I can get over it.
You saw TikTok.
Yeah. Well, okay. First, actually, because for those who don't know, even though Katie has already said that Cassandra Clare is her favorite author, I mean, she's her fucking favorite author. Like, around this corner...
We'll take a clip of my bookshelf for you.
I have seen her bookshelf.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
And so, I remember, because Katie has multiple copies of this book series, and so, when she got this particular one that I have from Amazon, it's a reprint, and it has this cover on it, this spine. I thought it looked really cool. And then, so, when we were discussing, like, oh, what books do we want to do? First, we did The Folk of the Air. And then I was like, well, I had 8 books in the Bridgerton series. You can pick another one. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, oh, how about this one? I was like, yeah, that sounds cool. Is that the one with the cool spines? She's like, yes. Mm-hmm. And then I think it was like a week ago, 2 weeks ago or something. I happened to see a TikTok. And I don't generally get a lot of Cassandra Clare on my book talk sort of thing.
Really on book talk.
Exactly. So, which was kind of surprising. But I knew it was the Cassandra Clare. And I sent it to Katie. I was like, whatever book this is, whatever that quote is from, right. I want to read it. And she read it, and I was like, I'm pretty sure this is part of the series that we're reading. Yeah. And I was like, I looked in the comments, it is from that book series.
So for anyone who's read the whole thing, it's a quote from the end of the last book.
Don't wreck me, please.
But the thing is,
it is one of those quotes.
I don't remember what it says, but I remember feeling like very sad.
No, it's definitely one of those wrecking quotes.
Literally tears already.
So I was like, whatever it is, I want to read it. And I was like, well, perfect. Again, look at this, the spine looks really fucking cool. And I saw that quote, I was like, game. Now, again, you all know me by now. It fucking takes me forever to read a book. So, started it yesterday, finished it this morning, and I finally read it. So that is, suffices to say, my history with Cassandra Clare. Read some of them, picked up one of her books in a long time, and here we are now. Let's go. The first book in the Infernal Devices. Clockwork.
I would just like to say that Katie texted me 3 days ago and was like, we're gonna do this book talk on Monday night if you'd like to join us. So the fact that you hadn't even read it yet, and she's like, we're talking about it Monday night.
This is how it works. I have to give her a date.
Yeah.
And then she'll read it.
Yeah.
And for anybody who wants to know, it is 11 p.m. for me right now. So I should be asleep.
It's fine.
But here we are.
It's fine. I'm going to be honest with you all. I am pretty sure that we're going to have a whole lot to say. Also, for those who haven't looked into our Folk of the Air series by Holly Black, one of my issues with that world was I feel like I didn't get a good gist of where we were. It's supposed to have the Fae and this and that and very colorful. Now, this book in particular, I feel like it could be because I've read other books by her. It could be because I've seen the movie. It could be other circumstances. But I felt like I was there in the story. So very huge props to Cassandra Clare for that.
She does do descriptive text really, really well.
Yeah.
But I'm curious also, her books are based in real places.
Yes.
So that probably plays a little bit of a role too. Like, you can imagine what London looks like, even London in the late 1800s.
Yeah, 1866, I think it was.
Something like that?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So, there is that, to be fair.
I don't think they go into fairy in this series, because there is fairy in her books. Mm-hmm. But even in those moments, I feel her descriptions can be a lot more, like, involving.
Yeah, I don't think in the first book she really describes any fairies, but in one of the other books, she definitely, like, puts a description of, like, different characters, like, that aren't human.
But, like, in the Mortal Instruments, when they actually go to fairy and you get the description of what that land is like, it's far more encompassing than a lot of other books.
Yeah. But I just wanted to say that as a quick off the bat.
So 1878.
Yeah, I looked at it too. Also, I just also, before I read actually the book.
There's a map in it. That's really cool.
Yeah. Before I actually started reading the book yesterday, I actually read the foreword. What was it? A few days ago? Maybe?
Yeah.
And I really, really, really liked the foreword of this book. It basically, she wanted to write this book for all of the girls in particular who love to read, who like to escape, who don't think they can be the hero or heroine in the story. And I was like, oh, bitch, that's me.
So I'm reading my original copy, right? Not my reprint. My original copy doesn't have that forward in it. So when you told me you fell asleep reading the forward and you really liked it, I thought it was the Thames River song. I was like, oh, okay.
I was gonna say, am I the only person that, like, doesn't read the forewords or the acknowledgments? And, like, maybe that makes me a bad reader, but, like, I just read the story and that's it.
I just happened to read this one.
Well, if you have the same version I do, it doesn't have the forward in it. So
there was nothing there.
Like, did you read the forward afterwards?
No, I'll have to go read it. Yeah,
it's really touchy.
Can you read it? I would like to know it.
Just obsessing over the Thames River song, and I was like, all right.
Oh, damn, Lucia. That'd be funny, actually.
It would be a little funny. I'd be like, okay.
Okay, so, prologue, London, April 1878.
Oh, we're gonna go chapter by chapter in this book.
No.
That seems a little bit in depth for us.
Actually, I mean, there's only, like, 20 chapters?
I actually wanted to do something a little bit different this time around.
All right,
maybe right now or eventually. But I kind of wanted to go through each character. I mean, technically you can't do that. But, like, more in depth. Because there's so many rich characters in this one that I feel like there's so much, like, pop. There's so much. And...
Who is your favorite character from this book?
You can say yours first.
Will Herondale was my first and only literary crush, and I will die for him.
I also fell in love with Will Herondale.
My back tattoo is a quote from him.
Really?
As much as I love him, it changes in the other books.
You do go through a roller coaster.
Katie knows this, how I felt with the other books, so I cannot wait to talk about them with you guys. But Katie bore witness to my Snapchats as I was reading, and I was just sending her videos of reactions. I was like, I can't. Why did you do this to me?
Will is definitely, he's one of my absolute favorite characters, and I do have rereading this book, I immediately remembered how much I loved each and every one of these characters.
Well, I mean, look,
they're really well developed.
Like, look at Jim. He's like the words that literally, I'm gonna remember these characters' names.
I'm believing.
Can't wait for another counter.
Tessa, that's the main character.
I had her name.
Listen, I didn't remember Jude's name. I had to reread the fucking prologue. I was like, hold on, who is this character? Who am I right
now? Okay, so Tessa, like when she first, obviously we're jumping around, but like Tessa, when she first sees him, she literally was like struck stupid of how beautiful he was. Gave me a very much Edward Cullen vibe.
This is the skin of a killer, Bella.
No, but like the first time she sees him, and it's like, ooh, suave. But like, he very much reminded me of a hero in a character. Both Will and James were basically like the two sides. And they even said it, the dark angel and the light angel or something like that. Tessa said that at one point in the book. But they're coin, you know?
They're two sides.
Personally, I like James. Like, he's so nice, and he's not trying to be.
By the end of this.
And he doesn't do any bullshit. He's gonna tell you how it is. He's very thoughtful, and I'm like, I love it. He plays the piano, the violin. Y'all, you want me to break down in tears playing the fucking violin? Just say it.
He's very.
And then, like, he didn't get the entrance that he deserved, unlike Will. And I was like, fuck
Oh my god, literally. Like, if we had... Imagine Jem was the one that saved her.
Exactly.
And not Will.
That would have been a very different tale.
It would have. I feel like she still probably would have fallen for Will. But, like... to see Jem
honest,
first...
I'm probably gonna cut all of this out and just record this. And just edit around it. Just this frame, you know?
Yeah.
Because of how much... Well, because in the background, we're buffering.
Right. Listen, I tried.
No, probably work on, like, a big computer.
Yeah.
It looks good. Well, now we know how to work at OBS a little bit more.
But also, it's not recording that middle screen. Well, it is. It's that side. So this front screen is like, it's FaceTime. What's behind it is the OBS.
I just hope that it is recording this, and it's not just, we're not gonna get to the end of it and be like, oh, we have none of this.
Oh, no, it's recording.
It's recording. It might be buffered. I have no idea.
We'll figure it out.
Oh, oops.
So who's your favorite character?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Who's your favorite character?
Will Herondale.
So...
But that's what I'm saying, it changes as the book goes on, the series goes on.
So y'all are Team Will, and he's also your favorite character at this point in the story?
Yes.
Okay, that's fair.
Although I do have to say I have a soft spot for Jessamine.
Yeah.
Even though she's a little bit of a bitch.
Well, yo,
listen,
she fucking...
Here's what I think. I think there are two characters that are very underdeveloped in the series.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be...
Nate?
Jessamine and Nate.
So, as I was reading this book, again, folks, we're like kind of jumping around, whatever. But as I was reading them, I was like, why are they so similar but not? They both want a normal... Well, Jessamine wants a normal life. Mm-hmm. Nate wants power and this and that, but they also don't want to be who they actually are. Like she doesn't want to be a shadow hunter. She wants to be a lady. He doesn't want to be a mere mortal. He wants power, and I just thought that was the juxtaposition of it. The two of them also really cool.
At the end of the day, they both are just plot devices.
Yeah. But they
also,
just have their own personality too.
I think my soft spot for Jessie comes from a role she plays in later books.
Huh?
Oh, she does have her role in other books?
Yeah, in the sequel to this. It's not going to affect you at all.
Oh, for this, okay.
So, like,
I thought you meant, like, other series. I was like, does she?
No, in the sequel, the
Clockwork Prince?
No, in The Last Hour, she's in that book.
Oh! I'm interested now.
It's a very minor role, but you see a little bit more of her in a different way, which is kind of fun.
Okay, and what is the plot of this movie?
This is a book, babe. This is a book.
What are we talking about?
We're talking about this. The plot of this movie.
This is a book.
Pupper.
This is a book.
It's a book.
Yeah, it's 11 o'clock.
Honestly, it's a movie in my head.
Okay, it's 11 o'clock. It's not.
Yeah, it's 11 o'clock for everybody, definitely.
Over here in California, it's 11 o'clock, same as New York. Duh.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I feel like we need to have a conversation about personal space.
No, he misses me. Definitely. Good boy, come back to me.
So, a brief plot. Oh my god, Lucia. A brief plot of this movie is our main character, Tessa, at 16 years old, her aunt dies, which we learn later on she was fucking poisoned by that chocolate because of Nate, that bitch, poisons her because he's like, I knew you wouldn't eat it. And then he basically called his aunts a fat ass. And he was like, I knew she would eat that chocolate. I was like, bro.
But like, also not his aunt.
Is he? No, it's his aunt.
Is it?
I'm pretty sure it's their mom's sister.
Yeah, but he's not.
I don't know if you're gonna spoil something.
No, you're too far ahead.
Okay.
But to be fair, though, because obviously I just heard you, I was suspecting that it was not his aunt because of the way they were talking. It's like, okay, your mother didn't know there was a demon. Your father was a demon. Is your mother something else? Well, he is just a regular fucking human, so clearly that he's adopted or something, or they sold him away or something. So, okay, I'm not that fucking
bro. I need to talk about the whole series at some point. Like, I need you to be on the same level as me because Jesus
later.
Christ.
Listen, the family trees in these books get a little weird, okay?
Did they go sideways?
That was only for 10.
Listen, you read Anne Rice's Witching Hours book series, the May whatever witch series, that's fucking go sideways.
Alright, so her aunt dies. You didn't get past the epilogue at all. Or the prologue.
I'm just doing a brief synopsis real quick.
Brief synopsis of the first chapter.
Her aunt dies, so
What
she gets
happened?
a letter from her brother, like, hey, come to live in London with us, or with me. We'll set you up for life. We got you. She's like, fuck yeah, I'm succeeding. I'm homeless. So she goes, and then at first she's like, why did he have me go this way? It doesn't make sense with the boats. And he lied. He said it was always Sunday. I was like, girl, I know y'all are in 1878, but like everyone knows London is notorious for being not sunny.
Ain't no sunshine.
Exactly.
Only cloudy days.
Always cloudy and rainy and good, you know? Anywho. And then she gets picked up by the bald mechanic dude, right? The driver.
Dark Sisters.
Yeah, he did.
They're so creepy.
They are.
And until it's like revealed later in the story, I was like, what is this creature that like he looks like a man, right? But like isn't.
And then they get picked up and they're like, yeah, we're gonna be helping you 6 weeks later. What is this, fucking Twilight? January, February,
March,
or whatever months it was. I don't know.
In November through January.
So then, you know what's really interesting to me? So going to Jesse's powers real quick. At first, okay, so the title.
Jesse's powers?
Sorry. She has powers, it's fine. Just Jessie, Tessa, Tessie, it's on in my head. Real quick though, the title of this book is called Clockwork Angel. In my mind, I was thinking, like, okay, this is one of the devices that they're gonna look for, like, they're gonna go search for it. I didn't realize it, obviously, until I started reading it, that it's already on her. So I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was cool. And then, as soon as, like, 6 weeks are up, she's like, okay, your power test. And that was really interesting, because at first I was like, oh, it reminds me of this one book, or not book, this TV show called, The Irregulars. It's on Netflix. It's like Sherlock Holmesy with a twist, and it's set in England, obviously, and there's superpowers and stuff like that. It didn't do very well, got canceled, but there were some fun parts to it. But another character, spoilers, has the ability to change and shapeshift because she hates her own life, sort of thing. And so what I thought was interesting was the ability to not only talk like them, but to see their memories. And like literally have her consciousness or their consciousness in them as she's them. And I was like, that's a little bit different twist. I appreciate this. It
is really interesting. And it's not like limited just to dead people either.
Yeah.
She can do it when she's portraying people who are still alive.
Yeah.
It's a neat little.
And then at first I thought, okay, so like again, the search for the Clockwork Angel, I was thinking, is it eventually going to tell her tales of someone like who owned it before? Is that going to happen? But it just was there. Is it like a deeper psyche that needs to happen? Like I was running with all these what ifs in my head as she was going through this. And then she was like reading like the book or whatever. I was like, oh, is it like Inkspell? This is like later on when she's in the library. Is it like Inkspell where she can go into the mind of the character that's in the book? I was like, that'd be kind of cool. And then when she's dreaming, I was like, is she dreaming of these characters' memories? I was thinking of all these different stuff that reminded me, and I was like, the possibilities, because one, they don't know what she is. She doesn't have any, marks or anything. And I was like, this is interesting. So which made me want to read more. And to be honest, again, like Katie said, usually I'm like, give me a date and I'll read it. I'll still probably do that, but I'll look forward to doing and reading this book faster. I don't know. Her powers are really cool to me.
Next week, I want to talk about the next book.
Oh, gosh.
I want to talk about the whole series. You better have both books done.
Listen. I have to edit and record other stuff. I am off tomorrow, though.
You are off
I'm
tomorrow.
not.
I'm just saying I could technically read it. Okay, so
So after her 6 weeks and her powers,
yes. We learn that she has to touch something of someone, which is kind of like an empath's ability too, which is cool. Like I said, it reminded me of a whole bunch of stuff. Not in a bad way, because I enjoyed that stuff in other material that I've seen it in, and now it's like, oh, wham-packed in this one, but in a good way. Well, at first I thought she was one of the machine things, because of the prologue. It was talking about, like, the river one. It was talking about, like, oh, what did it say? Like, oh, is this about a boat? The Thames River song? At first, I was like, when I first read it, I was half asleep. And then I read it again. I was like, are they just talking about a boat gliding through water? And then, of course, we have the Clockwork Angel, Clockwork devices and stuff like that. And then we learn about the little angel, how it itself is a little machine. So I thought, okay, she's a machine herself. But then that got consciousness. So then I started thinking about Westworld.
you really went all over the place.
Seriously, that's what I thought about. Like, it's just my mind. And again, I'm talking a lot. Sorry, guys. Go ahead.
But so, Will happens upon Tessa. Because he's not there to rescue Tessa. He's
just doing an investigation.
Literally just shows up and is like, oh shit, there's a lady here.
Yeah, and then they break her out.
After she tried to hit him with, like,
yeah.
Will just looks at her and goes, you're coming home with me.
Very Tangled-like encounter.
Yeah, basically. Oh, I love Tangled.
That's one of my favorite movies.
Me too.
And then she meets the Silent Brothers. And I love the way that they're described in this book and her reaction to them, because they are horrifying. Like, they have no eyes and they're, like, all sewn shut, and, like, they're supposed to be grotesque. And in some of the other books, that grotesqueness about them is kind of, like, let go. Like, as you've learned who they are and what they do, and that they're not scary people.
Which is why it's cool that this is
right.
a prequel.
So, like, the grotesqueness of them in the later books that she writes is less of a focus.
What is the name of this brother guy? The one that's in this
Enoch?
one?
Yeah, it's Brother Enoch in this one.
Because I swear that in a memory that Tessa was having, she says, it was like Enoch was saying this or that. I don't know, again, it could have been just me reading it, just kind of a blur sort of thing. But I swear she was like, Enoch was talking to her aunt or her mom or some shit when she was younger. Again, I could just be pulling words out of my ass because I
don't know if that happened.
So then, basically, everyone at the Institute, the Shadowhunters, are like, oh man, Tessa, we don't know what you are, but you're not human. And sure, we'll help you find your brother.
I guess. Because, first off, she was going to get married to the master.
Oh, that's right. They were trying to marry her to the magister.
Because the dark sisters were like, we weren't doing so well, and, like, you will be our saving grace, and he'll love you. It's so awesome. And
we'll get what we want out of this, and he'll get what he wants out of this.
Doesn't matter. Don't matter.
Don't give a fuck about you, bitch.
Basically.
So they go on this wild goose chase, basically, is what it ends up being. They go to her brother's employer, and they're like, hey, when's the last time you saw him? And they basically out him as being one of the members of this circle of mundanes, which is what they call humans, who dabbles in
the dark arts.
Magic, basically. And they're like, hey, we know you're lying to us. Like, we know you know what's up. Where is this guy? And they basically say, oh, well, he left me to go work for the head of the vampire clan.
So Charlotte and Henry went to go visit this guy.
Which, Henry?
I think
he has Arthur Weasley energy, first of all.
Yes!
He does have red hair.
And also, like, the kindest, sweetest soul on the planet. Like, you cannot convince me anything else.
an absolute himbo. Like, he just wants to tinker and create things and help the Shadowhunters.
Yes.
And is just so oblivious to everything.
And it was so
He's
fun.
like, yes, my dear.
Because this series came out after Mortal Instruments, so, like, it was neat because all the technology that the Shadowhunters use in Mortal Instruments was invented by Henry.
Nice.
So, like, it was really neat to, like, read about him after seeing all the things that he makes.
You know, one of my favorite lines that Charlotte says, or, like, she's thinking, is, like, she's like, it's after their talk before with the Mastery.
Yeah.
Master. Oh my god. She's thinking, like, that she wants to put her hand on Henry or something like that.
Right.
And she's like, I don't know if he'd welcome it, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, what an interesting wedding or, you know, marriage y'all have. And then later on we realized that, like, oh, it's all a convenience. I'm pretty sure Charlotte would want to tie him down on her bedpost. I'm pretty sure.
Definitely DTF, for sure.
Yeah. And we learned that she's actually much younger. You know, she kind of reminded me of, in this book, of Jude.
Charlotte reminded you of Jude?
Yeah. Like, they're both pretty young, 18, 22, and they have so much on their plate. They're trying to keep it focused, and all the things slip through the cracks.
It did freak me out, or, like, not freak me out, like, confuse me that she was only, like, in her 20s. She's literally, like, 4 years older than all of these kids.
Yeah.
And is, like, their mother.
She's the mom friend, clearly.
She's hero.
But every time I read her, it was always just shocked to me that she was in her 20s. Like,
Yeah.
it reminded me in the book every time that she was in her 20s. In my brain, she's, like, 35.
Damn, that's me in, like, 6 years. You're like, couldn't be me.
Me in, like, 12 years.
So they
23.
They basically, using an informant, Lady Belcourt, who also plays a role in the Mortal Instruments books.
The vampire.
The vampire lady.
Vampire.
But she basically allows Tessa to become her, to go to a vampire party.
She wants revenge.
Because she wants revenge because De Quincey killed her werewolf lover.
And who's De Quincey? Because we haven't mentioned him yet.
He's the head of the vampire clan.
In London. And not only that, her werewolf lover, what are my words? Which gave me some Underworld vibes. You werewolves, lichens, and vampires cannot. And then you had freaking Michael, and he's hybrid, and all this, and I was like,
we're too far here. We're too.
Tell that to Cece. Tell that to Cece, reminding me of other stuff.
So Tessa poses as Lady Belcourt, and her and Will, who's pretending to be her human subjugate, go to this vampire party where they're hoping to at least catch them drinking blood from mortals, which is a big no-no.
I really liked the talk of laws in this book.
The laws in this whole world are very back and forth. In a very realistic way. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because, like, as you get into the more modern books, the laws and things become more lax and different. Like, in this book, right? I think it's still frowned upon for Shadowhunters to be with Downworlders in these books. Yeah. And it still is a little bit in the more modern ones, but, like, you can see the, like, flow and change of the prejudice. I just as it happened, like, in our own world. Like, it was a nice parallel.
Vampire de la Croix, whatever his name is.
Quincy?
Yeah. Him. When they're having a conversation about, like, laws and this and that, he's like, yeah, well, what about, do you have any seats on the counter or whatever for the vampires? You think that's less than you all. Yeah. And then how the Shadowhunters feel about humans, too. Mm-hmm. It's like, damn, Shadowhunters, y'all are down bad.
Yeah. They have a little bit of a superiority complex.
Yeah, and I'm like...
It's gotta be the angel blood in their system.
Yeah. Probably, to be honest.
They're at this party, right? And that's where Magnus Bane shows up, because he's dating Lady Belcourt.
Love of my life.
You know what I liked? He's like, he says that he's always been partial to dark hair and blue eyes. I was
Yeah.
like, I get it.
that comes into play.
I understand.
He's like, I
All
get
of
that
my
one.
love interests.
But while they're at this party, they sit down for the show, which is them basically torturing and murdering a mundane.
Yep.
And De Quincey does his whole big act, and he rips the bag off the human's head, and it's Tessa's brother.
Yep, and she screams, and Will's like, the fuck, we have a job to do.
But,
And then later on, they're like,
but she's in the process of being escorted out.
Yeah.
She is, by
Magnus, because she's freaking out. She's like, you need to do it now.
Yeah.
Like, you have to do it now before it gets revealed that it's her
Henry's
brother.
machine messed up also.
It did, yeah.
Yeah.
Poor Henry. So then, basically, that whole thing is a big bust, except that they save her brother. And
Which
then
was a bust.
he also gets freaked out by the Shadow Brothers. The Silent Brothers.
They probably, like, saw into his soul and, like, whispered in his head how much of a piece of shit he is. And he
I'm
was
gonna
like,
be honest, I don't think the Silent Brothers can just go into your brain without your permission. Like, they can read your active thoughts, but they cannot, like, go into your psyche unless they perform rituals.
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't there, like, they can basically torture it out of you.
Like
isn't there, like, a thing that they can do?
Yeah, like, they can, but they don't just passively go in and evaluate your psyche.
Yeah.
Why not?
It's a little bit invasive.
I mean...
So
is a fucking knife in your heart, and, like...
But also, the effects of the Silent Brothers are heightened on mundanes.
Yeah.
So, like, they can't handle it as well as a shadow hunter might be able to.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you might damage his brain if you go into his psyche.
It's already damaged.
It's
You know,
so is
though,
mine.
you know what's sad, though? How pathetic he is.
Nate?
Yeah.
I hate him.
And it's almost sad, too, because they even, like, as soon as Tessa was like, yeah, you know, me and my aunt basically let him get away with anything, didn't teach consequences, this and that, I was like, oh, he's gonna be a little bitch, basically. Oh, no, even before that, because, like, oh, he was a dreamer, he liked to gamble. No, the fuck, so what? Also, keep it in mind, though, it is 1878, right?
Yeah.
So we have to think about the time period for women, you know? So there is that aspect. So it's not like they can really tell him much.
Right.
You learn about the time period for women based off of Jessamine, who is literally just like, I'd rather not do any of this. Let me just
like,
be a
I'm a
housewife
lady,
to
I
pump
want a
children and
husband.
clean for them.
Yo, she was totally trying to get it in. She's like, better you. She's like, I know you said I was going to be your sister-in-law. And...
So while they're in De Quincey's house, though, they find the blueprints for the Clockwork creatures, which they had already determined Miranda was. Yeah. Because when the boys went back to search the house,
and
they
who's
found
Miranda?
her.
We haven't said her yet.
We haven't said.
She's that, like, lady's maid.
Yeah,
weird
she's like
creature.
Tessa's lady maid when she was at the Dark Sisters.
Tessa fucks her up.
She does.
She's like,
that's
freaks out.
Like, when they're fighting, well, like, not when they're fighting, but, like, when she hits her, she's like, oh, and the scheminess came out of her. I was like, oh, so she's a fucking robot.
Yeah.
Like, so, like,
and
later
Tessa
on.
was like, weird, and kept going.
So, like, later on, when was it Jim and them, they find her.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, so I was right.
So they find that De Quincey had the plans for those, and they're like, oh.
Dun, dun, dun.
They decide he's making an army, basically.
So basically,
Nate tells him. Nate tells him what his plan is.
Nate, and because he's like, I betrayed him and this and that, yeah. but also the guy that Charlotte and Henry went to go see, Mortmain.
Say it.
I think so. It's like Mort and then Main.
Yeah.
So we learned through James, our little buddy, my favorite of the duo boys, that he has a lot of money. His dad had a lot of money, but then he like tripled it, doubled it, quadrupled it, whatever. Sold opiates and all trade and stuff like that. Also, poor little James has all this addicted to demon blood, you know, or whatever the hell it was. Anyways, we'll bring that back up later. But so they went to go see him because that's who you said earlier employed Nate first, and then Charlotte, because she's a kind-hearted person, doesn't tell anyone about this exchange. She's like, like she puts a fear of God into him about this whole situation.
Right.
But let me tell you, I knew that shit was not right, because first of all, a man who thinks he's all that in bag of chips, who's that powerful, who thinks he's that powerful,
Right.
will not go away, will not bow down to anyone unless they show themselves to be a bigger fucking dog. So when that happened, I was like, nah. So I'm sorry, Charlotte. I'm sorry, Henry. And he's like, oh yeah. Oh, what did he say about how do you say it? Pixis, where they have all the
Pixis?
Pixis Fox, yeah.
Pixis! Yeah. Sorry, it's a character from Attack on Titan. Pixis! And so, like, okay. Henry, I know we mentioned him.
Yeah.
Does he have a disability?
No.
That's the
He
first
just
thing
likes to create things.
But, like,
It's just a big nerd.
he gets hyper-focused.
Yeah, so do I.
I mean, he probably got ADHD, but like,
Not,
it's fine.
I guess technically I'm assuming. Technically. But that was the first thing that I
But
thought
also,
of.
it's 1878 and nobody has disabilities then.
No, they're not. They're not
It doesn't
going
exist.
to like put
They're
it
not
out
real.
there. But in terms of like, was this a way of Cassandra Clare showing a different sort of character in that time period?
Potentially.
That's what I mean.
That's fair.
I mean, he just reads as a very like single-minded. I just want to tinker. Leave me to my
And
tinkering.
so, okay, so going back to where Charlotte was thinking in her head, I wish I can touch him. I was thinking, so maybe he
okay.
doesn't allow touch.
I can see how you get to that point. That's valid.
So that's why I was thinking that. And now, if that's not the case, then that's not the case. But I wanted to bring that up, maybe if that's where y'all's mind went at some points. That's all.
I didn't really see that. I just saw it as it's believed that they just had a arranged marriage, right?
Yeah.
Like it was just out of necessity because it was more believable for Charlotte to run this institute as a married couple rather than just a woman.
And
so it was basically
Will said,
just
like,
out of necessity. Yeah, she just needed to be married.
Yeah.
So it's just an understanding here. Let's put both of you together. He's clearly not going to be in charge at all, and he's just going to be there as a face.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really all I read it as. This is like, it was just out of necessity. They probably are fond of each other, but neither of them really know how to say it because they're just like, well, we're just kind of in this marriage because we had to be, not because we wanted to be.
That's a good point. I also thought all that too, but I was just wondering if it was like anything for him. But it's good.
So basically, Nate tells them the whole plan. And is like, here's what he's going to do. He's raising an army, blah, blah, blah.
It's that vampire guy.
And they set up this whole, like...
Because
it's this massive setup, because the real magistrate is Mortmain.
Mortmain was the one selling the pieces.
Twist.
Right? He was the one that created the pieces.
He sells Clockwork pieces.
Yeah.
And he's the one that made the actual automatons, is what they call them.
Yes. The ones at freaking
Disneyland?
Disneyland?
Automatons.
Yeah. But so basically what happens is Nate is like, here's De Quincy's hideout. He's going to do it on the full moon or whatever it was.
Oh, shit.
And they're like, oh, shit, that's today. Mm-hmm. So the entirety of are they conclave or enclave here?
Enclave.
So the enclave goes to raid his house and murder him for his crimes. And then while they all leave, so the way this works is in the Shadowhunter world, you're not allowed to actually go fight until you're 18. Yep. So the boys are only 17, so they're not allowed to go with them to fight
the vampires.
De Quincy.
Yep.
So Nate sends an SOL message to Mortmain, like, hey, there's still Shadowhunters in the building. We gotta get rid of them so I can house my coup. So Mortmain shows up, and he is like...
The Dark Sisters are gonna... Yeah, he's like, go to the Dark Sisters. They're gonna perform a spell to put demon souls inside of the automatons.
Yeah. And that's how I originally thought what was with Tessa. Like, so someone was able to do that. I wonder how. Mm-hmm. Because, okay, going back, I thought maybe she was one of the electronics, or not electronics, robots, essentially. because what the the Darkless sister said, like, oh, he made you. They literally said that at one point earlier on. And then you have the Clockwork Angel thing, all the things. So I thought, okay, she definitely is different. She definitely has this power. But how can an automatronic thing have this ability to do this? Well, maybe they did put the demon blood in her to make a sort of soul thing. Right. And now maybe that practice is lost. And Mir, whatever his name is trying to find it again, you know? That's what I thought originally. Mm-hmm. And then he goes on later on to be like, oh, I created you, or I made you. And he's like, you're my father? She's like, no, he says, do you want me to bring your father? Maybe we can summon him.
I just made a demon rape your mother. It's fine.
At this point, so
when you put it like that,
that's basically what happens.
He said that your mother didn't know it wasn't him. So obviously I'm thinking that Tessa's dad was also a shapeshifter, because
interesting way to go about it.
That's what I thought at first, you know? Yeah. And then I was thinking, because they also said, you know, even your mother didn't know what she was. So that brought in the whole theory that she may have been something more as well. And so if she could have potentially, maybe she was like sighted or sensed or whatever it is that like Sophie and them are. If she was that, potentially, and she couldn't have been able to tell that her husband wasn't her husband because her, you know, Tessa's dad is also that, then that makes sense. Wrong, but it makes sense. But then also Meyer, whatever his name is, was like, oh, this is my plan. I didn't start it, but I'm the one who brought it further along into fruition. And I'm like, so there's another bigger dog.
There's another man behind the man.
A bigger man.
So Jem and Will go off to fight the Dark Sisters.
I like how I do all these tangents and you just slide back in.
Where they find out that the second Dark Sister wasn't a real person.
Jem saves a cat.
Jem does save a cat. His name is Church, and he makes it into the future books.
Yay!
I love Church.
Hey, they were talking. They even said it in this one. You know, they did a lot of dark magic on him. Maybe you'll live a long time.
Church is immortal. That's all I believe. I don't know.
Church is a personality.
Church is a personality, and he is immortal.
We
love the Church.
Is that the guy who's with Jeeves?
Yes, he's also in the Mortal Instruments.
I just had to that.
Church is the cat from the Mortal Instruments.
Yeah.
Again, I haven't read that series in years.
So after they leave, the clockwork creatures. Oh, we
skipped an entire thing.
We did. We skipped the whole thing.
Oh my god!
How they were able to get in.
The first thing that wrecked me in this book. Well, not the first thing, but one of the things that wrecked me in this book was Jem being a gem.
That's what I keep saying.
It was like, Tessa, I'm gonna make you happy right now, and I'm gonna take you on a tour of London. So he brings her out and shows her a bunch of stuff. And then it's nighttime, and they go to Blackfriars Bridge.
His favorite place.
And they're just chit-chatting, getting to know each other. And they notice this strange couple walking about, and they're like, it's kind of late for there to be a couple strolling. That's they're probably thinking the same thing of us. Like, it's fine. It's not that weird.
Right.
They turn to leave because they're done. They should probably go back home. That couple runs up on them, and it turns out to be the coachman, and then some other lady, a Tomahawk lady.
Right.
Yeah, it was the driver, and they're like, "You can't leave. We need Tessa." And heeding a whole warning, and then they sprint, they attack them. They fend them off. They're running back to the Institute. Jem gets fucked.
He does. So we never really discussed Jem's affliction.
I kind of brought it up. I said I was going to bring it back.
So you don't really meet Jem until well into the book.
Which is why I thought it's not fair. Will gets this grand fucking entrance, and Jem's just playing the fucking violin. Not that's bad, because I love the fucking violin. But how was that fair?
So Jem comes from Shanghai, and his parents and him were captured by a greater demon. What's his name?
Galabara?
It starts with a Y, doesn't it?
Yeah, Y-U-S or Y-U.
Yeah, Yorbo, or I could just completely have that wrong.
Yeah,
the drug starts with a Y.
Yinfen, I know the drug.
Yabiya.
But I thought the demon.
His name is Yabiya.
What? No.
Yeah, blah, 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 blah.
I'll look for it later. But so, basically, that demon tortures Jem for weeks on end, as well as his parents, and eventually murders both of his parents, and by the time that they come to save them, only Jem is left. And
Yan Lao.
That's what I said. Yang.
And they like try and cure him, because he's been basically pumped with this demon poison. Just enough to drive him insane, but not kill him.
My boy.
And the Silent Brothers try all kinds of things to wean him off of it, but basically his body has become dependent on it, which is meant to be a parallel to the opium crisis.
Yes.
Yeah.
He is my own personal brand of heroin.
Yeah.
He'll live, but he'll live as very shortly.
Right. So he can still live, but he has to take the Yin-Fen drug regularly.
And it gives him, it makes his lack of color.
Yeah, so that's why he's all white. Like his
Pale
hair
and
is
vampire.
silver, and despite the fact that he's Asian.
Basically, yeah, and he has to take it to survive. And whenever he fights, he has to take more of it because it drains through his system faster.
Yep.
So he didn't take
sense.
any that night because he wasn't planning on fighting. So he collapses on the steps of the Institute. And
He's bleeding.
Right, because they stabbed him.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the automatons
One that looks like a spider.
Like, covers its hand in his blood. Because the doors of the Institute will only open if you have the angel's blood on.
Yep.
In you.
Yeah, so Tessa couldn't open the door. So she's like banging on it. She's like, Jem, I need you to get up so we can get into the Institute.
Right. So
Like,
once they have Jem's blood, they just leave.
Yep.
yeah.
And then they come back that night when everyone goes off on a wild goose chase and invade the Institute, murder Agatha and Thomas.
R.I.P. Thomas.
R.I.P. Thomas.
The way they described him, he was the nicest guy, built like a fucking brick house.
It's like,
Had
why'd
a
they do
thing
this to him?
for Sophia, and I was like,
Oh,
damn,
Sophie.
bro. Sophie had a crush on Jem. I get that, but bro,
The love triangles, like the infatuations for this series, just really threw me for a loop. I was like, why is everyone interested in the wrong person?
But I did like the Sophie. So what's her name? Sophie or Sophia?
Her full name's Sophia, but she goes by Sophie.
Okay, I did like Sophie's thing that she told to Tessa. It's okay if you love someone and they don't love you as long as they're worth it. I'm like, girl, dropping the bars.
But she was trying to convince Tessa to stop loving Will.
Because he's a little
Literally. It was like, he's an asshole, he's not worth it.
He is a dick.
He kind of reminds me of Jace, actually.
Well, good news, they're related. Well, good news.
There you go.
Yeah. With my limited experience with the Cassandra Clare books, just having known, like, the last names, I started reading this book and was like, why do I know these names?
That's what I said when we were
And I was like,
at
Katie,
work.
why are they all descendants? What happened here?
Yeah.
This is weird.
They're not direct descendants, I don't believe.
Because, like, Jace is very much like, oh, we're going to be jolly and happy and have a good fucking time. And then also, I'm not going to talk to you for fucking weeks. And also, I'm going to kiss you like your life depends on it. But also, both
of those boys have very traumatic upbringings.
No, I get that, but like, I don't need all that trauma or drama. Both. Actually.
Just me as a reader, it's like, I can fix him. No, you can't.
Yo,
He's fucking broken.
That's what Sophie was telling Tessa. Like, you can't do that.
Jem is literally addicted to a drug. You can't fucking fix him.
But that he reminded me of Jace actually, and then later on when after he kisses Tess, Will kisses Tess for the first time.
No, what a steamy scene.
He was all like thinking in his head or something about like, oh, everything's gone, and I'm like, what the fuck?
But can we talk about
why like, we know his parents were alive, apparently. Yeah. We know that
you don't know that his parents are alive.
That's what I said, apparently. Well, he said they weren't dead. He said they weren't dead.
When he left 5 years ago.
But like she talks about how like we're all orphans, and he's like, my parents aren't dead.
Yeah, okay. He did say that. I was like, I'm pretty sure I read that he said that. Yeah, thank you.
But back to like how they kissed and like the whole reasoning behind it is because Will's a fucking dumbass.
Yeah, he is.
And gets He drinks the. He bites. Bites De Quincy.
They wouldn't expect it.
The audacity.
He bites him. So this is the second time that he's now had vampire blood in his system, which just burns you from the inside out and like kind of changes it. The reason he was changing, right? Yes. Or no. He would have changed. The only reason he was burning is because he had to fucking douse himself in holy water. Yeah. He had to drink it, and then he was dumping it on himself to stop burning, but he was going to burn anyways.
The way vampires work in this world, you have to ingest their blood and then die.
Few days too, right?
But basically, after you ingest your blood, you're constantly compelled to go back to them.
Yeah, they're like simps.
Me.
So, like, theoretically, if nothing had been done about it, he could have turned into a vampire.
Yeah, which would have gotten rid of him as a Shadowhunter. Well, wouldn't it have actually killed? Well, I don't know much about the Shadowhunter world. Is there any Shadowhunter that ever gets turned into a vampire?
Yeah, it's well, not a character that you follow, but it's something that happens. You cannot be both.
Yeah, it just completely overrides the Shadowhunter.
Because in Mortal Instruments, spoiler if you haven't read that, Luke is both a Shadowhunter and a werewolf.
I don't even know who Luke is.
I do remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember from the series.
That's what I'm saying.
And then also in Mortal Instruments, that's where you learn how vampires work, because Simon becomes a vampire in that.
Yeah. I love Simon also. Like,
Simon, my whole soul and body is Simon.
Because he's a nerd.
But so they break into the Institute, right?
Yeah.
There's this big betrayal, and they realize it's Nate and Mortmain, and they sent them on this wild goose chase. And Mortmain's like, I want Tessa, and they run to hide from him.
They go to the sanctuary.
So they're in there, and then Jesse's in there with them, and Mortmain pretends to be Will.
Yeah. You know what, though? He did have a point. He's like, you Shadowhunters are always underestimating humans. Yeah. You think they're beneath him. And I was like, he's got a fucking point, bro. He does have a point. And because, like, Charlotte and Henry literally, it's like, you know what? It's really funny is as I was reading this, because I was like, they don't know what these people look like. Why don't they have a fucking board of tying shit together like in Law and Order?
Wasn't he most wanted?
No, that, but
even the red strings, like connect the dots.
All connected. Yeah. Why didn't they have that? They're just like, oh, I'm not gonna tell anyone anything, and I'm like, bitches, why aren't y'all talking? That's what I feel like.
If I were to have reread this book, like pretty immediately, like going in through a reread, I would have read the signs more.
Yeah.
To being able to figure out what the twist was, because I mean, I don't always enjoy doing that, but a lot of times when I'm reading, I will read to understand instead of just get through the story. Yeah. And I can pick up on the stuff and or at least make an educated guess of, I think this is going to be the twist, and this character who we think is good is actually going to be bad. But I was kind of thrown for a loop with Nate. I really didn't expect him to be a backstabbing traitor.
Right.
Like, he hates his sister.
He does hate her.
You know what,
I'm like, you're a bitch.
You know what I found interesting, though? Because he says, he's like, you're not my sister, you're not a family, you're a monster, this and that. And then Tess goes, then why'd you call me Tessie? He goes, no, I didn't. And there was like a slight, like, what sort of thing? Like a realization. I did like that moment.
Yeah.
I did like that.
Because he always called her Tessie.
Yeah.
And so that's how she knew that the note was definitely from him, not just that it was in his handwriting. Mm-hmm. And like, also, like, I did not expect, why would he have written that note if he wasn't on their side?
Right.
Like, he would have called her Tessa if he was in trouble. He wouldn't have called her Tessie. He would have made it seem like you should not trust this note.
Right.
So just that is something to pick up. He wanted to make sure that she trusted him.
Yeah.
To get over there.
So at the end, you get this I love this scene where Tessa like embraces her powers, because up until this point, she's been very much like, I don't want to use them. I don't like them. Like,
even the whole women really shouldn't do stuff to this capacity.
Yeah. Right. And it was very much like she couldn't figure out who she was supposed to be, because she suddenly had this ability to take on the face and characteristics of anyone.
She's no one.
So she was like pushing away this power that she has. But basically when she becomes someone who's passed away, she relives their last moments.
Yeah.
So the Dark Sisters had at some point had her change into somebody who had been shot in the chest.
Mm-hmm.
And she bleeds out, basically, when that happens. So she tells Mortmain if he doesn't leave, she'll kill herself, and, like, holds the knife up to stab herself. And he's like, oh, I don't believe you.
She called his fucking bluff.
And then she fucking did it. So she changes into that person as she turns around and pretends to stab herself, so it looks real. And then plays dead while Mortmain cries over her body until Will comes in.
And freaks the fuck out.
Yeah, because he also thinks Tessa's dead. And then Mortmain gets away because Will is too busy mourning over Tessa, who's like, no, I'm not dead. Like,
what is this, fucking Romeo and Juliet?
A little
bit.
Like,
Will, he allows himself to grieve her because he thinks she's dead. And then he freaks out. He's like, wait, you're alive? You need to get away from me.
And then he's all like, oh, so we can be together in secret later on? Oh, you're going to be on your
like,
fucking back,
you
right?
My side piece? Let's go.
I wanted to smack the shit out of him when he said that.
I was like, Jem would never.
Are you fucking with me right now?
Right?
The way he, like, says, come here. And I'm like, yes, he's finally gonna do it. They kiss. And then he's like, we should probably figure out how we're gonna do this. And she's like, what the fuck are you saying? He's like, you have to understand that, like, my room, Jem basically lives there. Like, he comes and goes whenever, so it would have to be your room, which is across the fucking hall from Jem.
Yeah, we just
so Jem would know. They're trying to hide it from Jem. He's gonna fucking know.
You hear that fucking old-ass bed creaking, wood spotting on the bed.
Right.
Wall?
Like, you're gonna have to put some kind of shield around that for y'all not to know anything.
Right.
Fucking soundproof that whore.
And then
literally the whore.
The whole reason
Not her,
they
but...
do that too is because Charlotte tells Tessa she's allowed to stay. Because Tessa is a warlock.
She's not allowed to be there.
And she's technically not supposed to be there.
Technically, yeah.
But they're like, screw the rules.
Material
but didn't they,
girl!
Come up with, like, a reason what that was within the rules that she could stay there?
Technically,
it's because
like,
she was
in distress,
wanted by Mortmain.
Yeah, like she needs the protection. So, like, technically, on a technicality, she can stay there
because she could be used as a weapon because he wants her for some reason.
Yes,
man,
she needs to be overseen by the Shadowhunters. So they're like, "Well, you can stay. You're not our prisoner, but like you can't leave."
What if we like didn't put this book out on YouTube?
What? You don't know yet. Hold up.
Then I want to go to bed already. Or I've been reading a different book.
It's fine. Final thoughts? Because that's basically kind of how it ends. Will is an asshole. Tessa gets to say.
Mortmain River was able to. He was able to get the pics.
Nate went with him.
Yep, Nate's gone.
We didn't actually talk about the Clockwork Angel.
It's such a insignificant thing that I often forget.
No, it's the
what did Henry do to it?
Yeah, but like
there's a point when Henry takes it. What did he actually do to it?
He just cleaned it.
That's all he did?
Yeah.
Because I thought it was broken, so I fixed it.
Yeah. I really think he just cleaned it. Basically, I know it's the name of the book, but like the names of the books very rarely play a large role, in my opinion. But so it's like her comfort, like her security blanket.
It came home.
Yeah.
And then it does save her, like it comes to life and like
just in the last.
You know what was interesting? Yeah. So all the little atomic things, sometimes they didn't listen to Mortimer. I thought that was interesting. Another thing was like how I know obviously he made them, but like
magic.
But also
that's like the real answer.
But like the thing is he disappeared, so he also knows magic.
I think the easiest answer to that is revealed in a different book, so we can't really say that.
Because there are still a lot
it is
of unknowns.
Essentially magic.
So like my question for you. What do you think Will wants from Magnus Bane?
So in this book they kept on talking about how there's a darkness inside of Will. And there was the thing when he was 12 years old, I swear, again, it could be because I was half asleep when I fucking read, but there's this thing where Will had like a ball or a box or something of energy. He had something, and it thought of in my head was it similar to like the Pixis ball?
It's awful because like I know it, but I don't remember how much you get in this book.
It's in the second one. That's why I'm not saying anything.
So he's either trying to get rid of it to protect her. Obviously, I think he left his parents to probably protect them, sort of thing. That's my guess at this point.
But
because
what did he go to Magnus for? Was my question though.
Because he's a warlock, he probably like wants a way to get rid of it, right? Like whatever's inside of him.
It was during Tessa's first meeting with Jem, where Will comes in like drunk, right?
Yeah,
drunk.
Yeah. Can we just talk about that for a hot second? Like,
dedication to the dramatics, honestly.
The fact that Tessa immediately notices that, like, this man was not drunk when he sobered up immediately.
Yeah.
Like, he flipped a switch the second Jem started coughing and was like, Tessa, you need to leave. Because Tessa didn't know anything. She just knew that Jem was sick. Didn't know that his medicine was a fucking drug.
Yeah.
That, like, they didn't want to, Will didn't want Tessa to see Jem as, like, an addict.
Right. You know,
just wanted to see him as who he was.
You know what's funny, though? I don't remember if it was, like, as she was dying or if it's, like, later on. But, like, she thought about, or I think it was when she realized that she can stay at the house. Like, she thought about Will, like, yay. And then she's like, oh, what surprised me more is, like, I thought of another face.
Oh.
Jake's face.
So they do tell you... Sorry, I was looking. Again. They do tell you that his father left the Nephilium because he fell in love with a mundane, and that's a no-no.
Yeah.
Which is why... Part of the reason that he hasn't seen his parents since he left.
Yeah, because he has to not talk to them anymore, right?
And Jessamine tells us that after complaining about how he's Welsh.
I started to actually need to usually, like, books will translate the different languages.
Oh, yeah.
In books. So then you know what they say and you don't have to actually, like, read it or, like, go and look it up. I had to look up the languages, like, the Welsh. I also I tried so hard to pronounce it. I was like, I think it's English. It's just written weirdly, so you know it's in an accent. No, this was just a different language.
It's pretty funny. So, yeah, that is my very broad thing. Whatever's inside Will, he wants Magnus to help take it out. Or...
maybe he realized Magnus had a soft spot for boys with black hair and blue eyes.
Yeah, maybe
but he's not attracted to Will, though.
You don't know that.
He said it.
I think Will's in love with Magnus. I think that's the plot twist of them all.
That's what it is.
He saw Magnus and was like, you're coming home.
My bad. Yeah, Jem is great. Charlotte hinted it all already. R.I.P. Thomas. Oh, you know what I thought too? Thomas, when he's like, tell Sophie, at first I was like, Sophie, is she more?
No, Sophie just has the sight.
Yeah. But like, I was like, is she getting powerful?
One of my other favorite and most heartbreaking scenes is when Jessie shows Tessa her dollhouse.
Oh, yeah.
And my heart just breaks for that little girl inside of her.
Fucked me up.
Yo, was she like fucked that one creature up?
She did fuck up that goblin.
Yeah. I was like, observe it.
I thought when she showed the dollhouse that she was gonna be like, no, this is literally my family. Like, this is where I lived.
Too. Like, I shrunk it.
Like, this isn't dolls. This is my family.
The only way to keep them alive.
Through magic, I lived here for a while with my family. And I was like, it's a little creepy, but
it's
okay.
It's like, I've read I think I saw an episode of Charmed like that, actually. Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
I know there's, like, other TV shows that have aired within the recent years that have stuff like that, where they just, like, go into a house, like a doll's house, basically.
Mm-hmm. But also, someone else we didn't talk about, the Lightwood brothers.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm only bringing them up because they do matter.
They matter later. I forget that they're even in this one.
They don't matter in this one. They matter later on.
No,
but they're both assholes.
No, what is...
Bruh.
He had sex... Will apparently had sex with their sister.
No, Will stole their sister's diary and read it aloud at a Christmas party in front of the entire...
Because she was so in love with him, and he's like, I can't have anybody.
Well, let me tell you this. That wasn't...
That's the whole reason they hate him.
I swear that they didn't say that in this book.
I don't think that was... Actually, that might not... The explanation was probably in the second book.
Well, it's not that important, but basically Will was an asshole. Surprise.
Because, like, Will even, like, it made it seem like Will had sex with her and, like, left her high and dry, basically. And then there's a thing where, I forgot what one of the brothers said something, and Will was like, oh yeah, that's what your sister said when, and then it's like, I'm gonna hurt you.
Also, it's only Gabriel in this one.
Yeah, you don't see Gideon, huh?
Oh. What does that mean?
You see their
There's
dad.
another brother.
And their dad is a piece of work.
I just want to...
Do not get me started on that fucking worm.
Is Gideon hot?
Arguably, all of the Shadowhunters are meant to be attractive.
They're all supposed to be very, very...
Gideon Lightwood?
Gideon's the nicer of the two, also.
But they said that he doesn't like Will even more at this moment. But Gideon, I like your name, so I'm a simp.
I'm a simp for him.
Jem, I love you, boy, but you're a little boy. Gideon sounds like a man.
So, final thoughts.
I actually really enjoyed it. And it could be my 5:30 a.m. thoughts, but you know, I still enjoyed it.
I do really love this book.
I can't wait to cry.
I don't remember what I rated. What did I rate the Holly Black book as? Like a 6.5, I feel like.
I like
it was a mid-tier book. I think this series was better, in my opinion, for the action and all of in the character development. I think characters were really well developed, even just for one book, without going into the rest of the series.
I agree.
I think this book was probably like a 7.3 for me. I don't know if I'd own the series. I don't know if I would reread it. But I wouldn't be opposed to rereading it.
This is the first time I've reread this book.
And you like it too?
Really? Yeah. Multiple times as Harry Potter.
Oh, Twilight.
Up until the last few months where I started reading again, the only book I had ever reread was Twilight. And I've read that series like 5 or 6 times.
So how I am with Harry Potter is what Mary's like with Twilight.
Twilight is the love of my life. If I'm ever depressed, I'm either watching the whole series or I'm binging the books.
And that's why I've reread Harry Potter so many times. It's fine. As much as I love these books and her works and how sad I get when they're all over, I've never gone to reread them. And I think a part of me was afraid that I wouldn't feel the same reading them a second time.
That's fair.
Which rereading this one is the exact opposite. Like, I still really enjoyed it. And it's nice to go back and see all the little pieces that tie this into the other books, because all of her books have little Easter eggs hidden in them, like Disney movies do.
Yeah. I think if we were to finish all of Cassandra Clare's books within this universe, I would want to reread some of these books. Or if, like, come a few years down the road, somebody wants to talk about this book because they're new to it or they're re-entering the world, be like, yeah, I'll reread that with you.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to do another reread, Katie, like, in a few years, I'll be like, oh, sure, I'll reread that with you. But I never used to be the one to really reread or rewatch anything.
Yeah.
I'll just, like, get through it and be like, yeah, it was a good show. I remember liking that when that was on. So, like, books, because they take forever usually to read, I'll just be like, yeah, I'll get through it. I'll have read it. I'll be sad that the series is over or that it's a standalone book. But it was good.
That makes sense.
So, I don't know if it'll make it to my library until I have a place of my own. But it was a good book. I definitely recommend reading it.
I enjoyed it a lot.
I think I'm most excited to see your reactions to how things, like the truth about things, like the truth about who Tessa really is and the truth about Will and
you know what
where it all ends.
Just where this goes from here.
Yeah. You know what also I really liked was Tessa's thoughts of, like, is this even my original face? Who am I really? But just consciousness of other people.
I didn't know if that was brought up in this book or if it was from later. So I hesitated for bringing it up. But do you guys think that, like, she looks like who she was born as? Or do you think through her changes, like being forced to come into her power, she's made unintentional minute change to her appearance?
Or even her personality?
I think she's the same. And my biggest factor to that is that when Nate was delirious, he still immediately knew who she was. And even if the changes had been very minuscule, I don't think he would have immediately recognized her if she looked any different at all.
I know that she had, like, a weight change because she was tortured for 6 weeks, but I feel like maybe she subconsciously, even if it was throughout the rest of the series, but probably more so in this first book when she was really learning her power.
Right.
I feel like unintentionally she changed something about herself, whether it be the length of her hair, the slight color of it, the shape of her nose. Like, I feel like something was definitely changed, and she just didn't know. Or maybe in her future, as she grew up, which I haven't read the rest of the series, like the rest of the universe, so I don't know what Tessa is in her future.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I wonder if wherever she goes from here, she does changes, and like, or if she just masquerades as other people because it's fucking hilarious. Because why not?
I feel like for me, this book brings upon deeper questions. So, like I mentioned earlier, like how it reminded me of so much other stuff, and I mentioned it briefly. Like, have y'all seen the show Westworld?
No.
Basically, it's a park, a Westworld sort of park, where like human people can go into the park and there's characters, they're robots, but they don't know they're robots. But they eventually become sentient consciousness of themselves and their past. Basically. And so that's the reality of, it's like, well, even though Dolores, that's the main character, is, machinery, she has more integral emotions and humanity than even some other actual humans. Which even, I forgot who said it, but they're like, damn, your brother gave you over, and they call us the monsters. Like, yeah. I think that was one of the Dark Sisters. So I think that aspect of the story, more than the what ifs, what could be, in terms of what this book, even if it's just the first one, is bringing forth, is much more interesting to me. And like the possibilities, because right now they stole the Pixis ball, demon, whatever it is, to try and put the souls and give power into these animatronic things that he's created, the Clockwork monster things. Yeah. And like, what if he actually does that? I'm thinking he potentially will, because you can't have a big bad and not have some sort of war go on. Because like, what's the fucking point?
Especially considering there's 2 more books.
Exactly. like in Twilight,
right.
You have the military and the group.
They never actually
fight. And
that was the biggest support for that book. The movies,
like, the movie did us justice.
That's what I'm saying. And it's like, for this book, for the way she writes, I feel like, and just as a story as a whole, it would be an injustice if that doesn't happen. So I feel like he needs to do that. The Mort Meyer, whatever the fucking name is, he needs to do that. And then, so if he does do that, then what about those creatures? Because again, not all of them were actually listening to him. Right. So what if they become sentient on their own and decide not to go along with what he says? So there's that idea. And then they go against him. So there's all these things and possibilities. And I don't know if this series is actually going to go through there. That's just my sci-fi love in mind. But regardless, the possibilities are there. Yeah. So I think that's what's really cool. And also, I expect to cry.
Yeah, tears are inevitable. As much as I hate it, I also really enjoy how unafraid Cassie is to kill off people. Like, when it's natural to the story progression, it's not like J.K. Rowling where, oh, I couldn't kill Arthur Weasley so he didn't die. Like, if it needs to happen, it happens. And it's heartbreaking and awful and gut-wrenching. And I'll never forgive her.
You should watch Attack on Titan.
But also, it makes the story more realistic. It makes it feel like a real war.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I saved some of my videos that I sent to you, Katie, when I was reading the 3rd book. So when we get to the 3rd book, I may just play those for you guys, because
my God, you should send them to me and I'll insert them.
Yes, I will send them to you. Yeah. Because I was just a fucking mess.
She was.
Maybe I'll do the same.
I'll take screenshots of my messages with Katie, send them to you, and be like, this is what happened. This was my reaction to what was happening. I'd be like, what did she just do? Because I'll have had to stop reading to either get ready for work or to go back on the floor from a break. So I'll message Katie and be like, this is where I'm at, and I'm fucking pissed.
That's awesome. Yeah. But anyone have anything else to say? I love the potential, the possibilities. Again, don't know if that's where the story's headed, but I can see it. And damn, I should really pick up my pen again. I should fucking write.
Getting back to reading has made me want to become a writer. I wanted to be a writer when I was younger because I had a really wild, active imagination. The part that stresses me out about it. That's what I find the most interesting, rather than just always being inside someone's head.
Right.
And I feel like that would be my downfall, is like trying to create worlds inside someone's head while stepping away from just interactions with people, because you can't just have the character talking to somebody the entire time.
Yeah. It's like how they say it, show it, don't say it.
Yeah.
Anywho, yeah, I have nothing else to say. I really enjoyed this book.
My signed copy. My flesh.
Jealous.
I'm surprised you didn't say that in the beginning,
I
actually.
thought about it.
Oh, she did. We weren't
I
recording.
even gave you this whole thing, like,
You did. Nope.
Alright, opportunity. Well, I have nothing else to say. Mary, do you have anything else to say?
I'm excited to talk about the rest of the series with you, because it's a wild journey.
On the real, I hope I have a fear that the recording of this is going to be absolute shit, so it may never reach YouTube grounds. But regardless, I have fun doing these.
If this doesn't make it to YouTube, when we talk about the second one and we understand OBS more, we can just do a quick recap of how we felt about the first one. We can just say, we did talk about it. If any of that footage is salvageable, we can insert it.
Yeah.
And we can say, this is long short of it. This was the rating.
Yeah.
This is how we felt, and here we are for the rest of it.
I agree. But yeah, thank you all so much. This was Lucia,
Katie,
and Mary
from We Know What You Like. Please like, comment, subscribe. If anyone have any suggestions on what books that you might think that we might like,
the next series is your choice.
yeah. So I picked first. It was 8 books. I was Katie. You can have next 2 because I'm trying to make it more fair. And so I picked the next one. So give some suggestions. Doesn't mean I'll do them or say yay, but I'm open to suggestions. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching this. We really enjoyed this one. Again, it's my very first time reading this one. Haven't read the last 2 yet. I look forward to them very much. They both since read them, and yeah, I look forward to it. But bye.
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 Yay.
I don't think you guys are ready for this. Look at these beautiful art prints that came with it. I can't. And this box, I'm dying. Oh, it's so pretty. All the artwork. And you open it up, it has these beautiful covers. Like, come on. Right? You gotta pull them out. Here we go. City of Bones. Look at them. And the inside, I'm dead. It's like truly beautiful. I'm obsessed. Don't even ask me where I'm going to put them because I do not know.